Basketball is a universally known sport. Whether you watch it, whether you play it, we all pretty much know it. Now, there's a lot of teams that we also might know as well, being the LA Lakers, LA Clippers, New York Knicks, and the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics actually being my favorite team. And they have been a part of the league since it first started way back in 1946, and is the only team with the most wins, being 17 championships. Now, that just goes to show that the Celtics have winning in their DNA, and leads me into my topic being that the Celtics would be going on to win a championship if it wasn't for the coronavirus. Now, of course, this would not be without a lot of factors, being how our players perform, how our team performs, and of course how we perform against other teams. Now, that leads me into our players. Gordon Hayward being one of our main role players and our main supporting players. Now, in his 2018-2019 season, he was only averaging 11 points per game, shooting 40% efficiency, which isn't that bad, but when you're shooting 11 points per game, you kind of want your efficiency to be higher. Now, his first month playing this season, he's actually increased his efficiency. Going into the season, he was averaging 20 points per game, shooting 50% from the field, which is a 9-point increase in points per game and a 10% increase in field goal percentage. Now, according to King from NBC, he has a net rating of plus 52 when he is on the court, which essentially means the Celtics have a better chance of winning when he's on the court rather than when he's off the court, truly showing his impact. Now, the next player I'm going to be talking about is, of course, Jason Tatum. Now, according to Basketball Reference, his 2018-2019 season, he was only averaging 15 points per game, shooting 35% from three, and taking only 13 points per game. Now, all in all, that isn't bad efficiency. That is typically league average. But coming into his career, everyone thought he was going to be a typical 20-point per game all-star. Now, coming into this season, he's actually surpassed those ideals of being 20 points per game and has increased his shooting all the way up to 23 points per game, taking 18 shots and shooting 40% from the three. And usually when you increase your points, your shots attempted, your field goal percentage typically goes down, but that is not the case for Jason Tatum, which truly shows our success, through our players. Now, of course, our players isn't the only reason why we win. Our team as a whole has a very big impact to our success. And two very big factors is our offense efficiency and our defense efficiency. Starting off with offense, according to our ESPN team ratings, we are actually the only team who has three people averaging over 20 points per game. These three people being Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Kemba Walker. We also have two other players, almost three, averaging over 10 points per game, being Marcus Smart and Gordon Hayward. Now, something that actually outweighs our offense is, of course, our defense. Now, according to team rankings, we are actually the second best defensive team, only allowing 106.8 points per game. And we are trailing the number one defensive team by 0.3 points, which, if the season continued, of course, we probably most likely would have surpassed them in points allowed per game, making us the best defensive team. Now, this obviously a lot of our players contribute to this, having 5 players average over a steal per game, which that being Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Brad Wanamaker, and Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart is actually almost averaging 2 points per game and a half block, and is in a conversation for being Defensive Player of the Year as a shooting guard, which typically is hard to do nowadays, since being that good at defense as a guard is hard when being compared to centers and power forwards. Now, one of the biggest counter arguments as to why we won't win the championship is the fact that other teams are better than us, which I could easily debunk. And two teams that are supposedly better than us are the Bucks and the Lakers. Starting off with the Bucks, after going onto ESPN team comparison, they are 1 point behind us in defensive ratings, and we have beaten them 1 out of the 2 times that we have played them this season. We were actually the very first team to beat them this whole season, breaking their winning streak, and that game was 116 to 105. Now, 11-point blowout isn't seen as amazing or jaw-dropping, but the Bucks, when they do lose, they typically only lose by 5 points, and the fact that we beat them by 11 points is quite impressive. And then the second time we went against them, we lost 128 to 123. Now that wasn't a blowout because the Bucks, when they do win against teams, they usually win on average against teams by 15 points. And the fact that we only lost by 5 points is very impressive. Now coming into the next team, who is actually statistically better than the Bucks and almost statistically better than us, is the Lakers. Though they might be statistically better than us, we have shown that we are more than capable of beating them. Since the very first game we played against them, we won 139 to 107. That is a very convincing blowout. Although we didn't blow out the Bucks out of 11 points, we definitely blew out the Lakers in this game. In the second game, we actually only lost to them 114 to 112. And this is, of course, due to several questionable calls by the ref, but there's nothing that we could have done about it back then. But the fact that we only lost by 2 points to one of the best teams in the league is very impressive. And we are also deeper than the Lakers, because the Lakers only have 2 players who are averaging over 20 points per game, being Anthony Davis and LeBron James, of course, and one other player averaging over 10, which is Kyle Kuzma, and if you check his efficiency, he's not very good. Now, we are a deeper team, and we have shown that we can blow them out and almost beat them, causing a season sweep. Now, all of this comes back together, showing us how we are successful. We've had a better winning record than we did last year. We are almost the number 2 seed in the East, and we are in top 5 out of the whole entire league. This is, of course, due to how our players perform, how we perform against other teams, and our team efficiency as a whole. Now, our players are hardworking, each player getting better by the year. But one of the main factors of our success is the fact that we have the most heart, and the fact that we come in, game out, just trying our best, and obviously showing that through our wins and our improving record and our improving efficiency and how we beat teams game in and game out. Which ultimately goes to show that if the Celtics were to continue this season, if the season hadn't come to a halt, we would have made the finals, and I do believe we would have won the championship.